we're still rocking and rolling with the NFL divisional previews because on United Football Media, it's always football season. Of course, in concert with DAR Sports Media. If you're listening to this, just the audio version over there on DAR Sports Media, then you won't be able to see that my man True is actually coming to us live from heaven. It looks like if you look behind him, he's not, nothing happened to him. He's up there visiting friends and family, but he's here with us, taking a little break from that to break down the AFC South. All of you people out there that are illogically upset that maybe some guys are getting another chance to go back to college football right now. Don't worry, there's no one like coming from Barstool that didn't quite make it and they're coming back down to our level or whatever it is that you're claiming to be upset about. Maybe when the passion dies down a little bit, we could have a logical conversation about what's going on there. Because to me, a lot of it seems to be steeped in jealousy and a little dash of racism. Peanut butter and jealousy sandwich with a little dash of racism on top of it. That's what I perceive as being a lot of the issues that people are taking with that situation with them NFL players, them guys in the NFL camp getting to take a trip back down to college, getting this injunction set up for them. I'm just going to, the only part of it that I'm going to say is if they had all the Kraft macaroni and cheese factory over the summer and then went back to college to play again, no one would have an issue with it. It's just a job at the end of the day. Really, I know it's non-standard. I get it. Change is shocking for some people. Some of us, we just roll and make shit happen, make shit crack. But yeah, maybe when passions die down a little bit, we'll be able to have a real conversation about that. What we're going to have a real conversation about today is the AFC South. And the thing that struck me the most right off the bat is this division contains 4 of the bottom 6 offensive lines in the league. This is by a country mile the worst division in the league when it comes to offensive line play. So you would think that'd give the Colts a big leg up since they have a top 5 offensive line. But we'll get into all of the things that you would think would give the Colts a leg up here in a minute. Speaking of teams that have horrendous offensive lines, the Texans are favored to win this league. I think this is a big year for the Texans. This is a big year for the D'Amico Ryans brain trust. This is a big year for CJ Stroud to prove he should get the big deal coming at the end here. There's a lot of like win or go home things for the Texans in play here. They moved on, or Joe Mixon moved on from them. There's a lot of maybe someday we'll figure out what actually happened behind the scenes with that. Jaden Higgins experienced a major injury in camp, so his status for the season is in doubt. Nico Collins, hopefully Jalen Noel makes more of an impact this year. David Montgomery, have always really, really liked him. He is in the backfield for this group, but they still have one of the worst offensive lines in the league, ranked near the absolute bottom by PFF. Actually, they are ranked number 27 offensive line. Real tough time for CJ Stroud trying to prove his worth, trying to get over the hump with this team, with this offensive line. The defense is still loaded. Added Reed Blankenship, a big-time playmaker from the Eagles. Great pickup there. I mean, they still got all the names. Will Anderson, Sheldon Rankins, Danielle Hunter, Henry Toto, Aziz Al-Shair. They still got all these fellers. Derek Stingley doing big things. Defense is still going to be nasty. What's going to happen with CJ Stroud? What's going to happen with this offensive line? I'm not 100% sure if I even agree that they should be the favorites, depending on what Daniel Jones when he comes back. A sentence that we all never thought what we would be saying, but here we are. Thoughts on the Texans? True. Tell me about it. Lean over and get, oh, never mind. I was about to say something crazy.
Nah, man. I don't know how to feel about the Texans. I think last year I didn't know how to feel about the Texans because, they're technically like a playoff team, right? But it's like we watched them struggle throughout the year last year. We watched them struggle. We watched them showcase that their offense. I don't even know what to say about their offense. CJ Stroud had that one season where he was like, yo, like he was, it's like, oh man, CJ Stroud is going to be one of the ones, one of the next ones. And now it's like, no, no. He looks almost like Tua out there sometimes. If you catch him on a really bad game, which no offense to Tua, but well, not too much offense. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about them. I think the AFC South is like the worst division, and it usually is the worst division to me. You could. I mean, granted, the AFC East at one point was was a shit show, but I think the Texans would be like a 10-7, 9-8 team. Um, and that's me being generous. Like I get why people are picking them because it's familiar. The Texans are a familiar team in terms of like CJ Stroud making the playoffs, getting right there, having a winning record or at least close to a winning record or whatever. Like I get it, but it's just what we saw from the Colts last season. I would love to see how far they go, and I just don't feel like the Texans are going to be any better than they were last year, which was worse than they were before. So, heading into this next year for CJ Stroud, this is kind of like not a make or break year, but it's like you got to be a little bit better. And also the offense in general just has to be better. And I thought they had pieces. I thought they had talent. They have talent. They have talent on the team. It's just execution. Execution will screw you over every time, especially when we're talking about in this sport. Your execution matters because you can have all the talent in the world. If you can't execute, you ain't putting no points on the board. So, like I said, I think 9-8 more than likely. I don't have them winning the division. So,
well, we'll move on to the team I think both of us probably do have winning it. The Colts, man, for a good spell. It interests me that they're now behind the Texans when for a good part of the season last year. I know it ended very, very ugly, but their quarterback got hurt. For a good portion of the season last year, they were, by the metrics and by a lot of the tape, the best team in the league for a big part of the year last year. So for them to get their quarterback back and then be ranked against the Texans after the last time we saw them looking the way they did, it's interesting to me. Colts, once again, number 4 ranked offensive line, absolutely one of the best, probably the best left side of the offensive line in the whole league. And then that pairs well, of course, when you got one of the best running backs in the league, Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. And then Daniel Jones, of course, took a huge step forward last season. Another year in the system, I think is going to help. Alec Pierce is back. We'll see if he lives up to the huge contract he signed this offseason. Josh Down, they just recently signed Keenan Allen to be the wide receiver too. Well past his prime, obviously, but did decently last year, and I think will be a decent fill-in as a second guy in this offense. And then Tyler Warren, arguably the best tight end in the league. So you got multiple positions here on offense where you have top 5 performers. You got Jonathan Allen, you got Tyler Warren, you got the top 5 offensive line. And really, that's what I look for. Like, what team has the most blue chips? How many of these top 5 guys do you have on either side of the ball? And the Colts got a bunch of them. Defense, of course, DeForest Buckner, year in and year out, doing his thing. They added, a lot of people, it's easy to forget because he got hurt. They added Sauce Gardner last year and also have signed Trevarius Ward at some point. Now, Ward has taken a little bit of a step back during his time with the Titans, but did he really take a step back, or was that just existing on the Tennessee Titans? I guess we'll all have to see, but that's perhaps 2 top 15 corners as well coming in the season, depending on how health works out and how these guys work out. So top to bottom, to me, this is one of the better rosters on in the league. And if Daniel Jones can elevate himself to what, a top 12 quarterback, this is a pretty dangerous situation. And it is a dangerous situation for all the brain trusts, the coach, the GM, everybody. They know that they're on notice this year that they need to get big things done. So that's what we'll be looking for them. They're my pick for the division. I'm guessing they're yours as well. Interesting times ahead for the Colts. Loaded roster.
Yeah, I think that roster looks really good. Um, Keenan Allen, those 6 catches and 37-yard games are gonna be more effective than you think. So and it just helps to have a veteran like that on your team, someone who's been around, who knows the ins and outs, who can still get a couple good passes and a couple good catches and keep going. But they have a stacked team. Like you said, health matters the most here. Health always matters. Like we can't stress this enough. We said this for years now. Health matters. If you have health on your side as a team, your talent is what's going to carry it over. And it's the same in every sport, really. You take a team that is, full of great talent, team that can put it together, have a great offensive line, have a good, solid enough defense to get things done. If you have that, the sky's the limit. Obviously, the quarterback situation is what's going to make a big difference here, but they have talent. They have guys. Um, I just think the benefit for the Colts is that they play in a division that they play in because you can beat the Texans. You're healthy. You can beat the Texans. You can beat everybody else in the division. You definitely can beat the Titans. I feel like so that allows you to. You might not be able to beat like dare I say like the Broncos when you get to the playoffs, or a Chiefs, or even a Buffalo Bills. Ugh. But
Ain't nobody worried about them. Ain't nobody worried about them.
Even the Ravens, if you go against the Ravens, like there's a chance you might not beat some of these teams because their talent and at least their best player is better than your best player. You know what I mean? Like there's a chance. Like the best player on the Colts probably isn't offense isn't better than Lamar Jackson, probably isn't better than Josh Allen, probably isn't better than Patrick Mahomes, depending on what Patrick Mahomes we get coming into the season. So it's like maybe there's a chance you don't beat these teams, but you have enough to where in your division, if you need to win 10 or 11 games to win, I believe they can do that. And I think they showed what they can do last year when they were healthy enough. And getting through 17 weeks of 17 weeks of health, man, is in football is a task. So if they manage to get through this mostly unscathed, I think sky's the limit, at least for them. This could be a divisional round, even conference championship run for them, depending on how well everything meshes and how healthy everybody else stays too. Because that is also important. Go stay healthy.
Yeah, we saw that, didn't we? Oh, Patriots, Broncos. Yeah.
Like if your team can stay healthy, and then these other teams that are contending, or somebody goes down, like if Josh Allen goes down, the Bills ain't going nowhere. You know what I mean? Like they're not going anywhere. Patrick Mahomes goes down again, the Chiefs aren't going to do a damn thing. So it's like if any of those things happen, God forbid it happens, but if it does happen, the Colts could slide right into a prime position to be like, hey, maybe we can beat the Broncos, maybe we can beat Drake May and the Patriots. These teams can be beat. So I think it's very possible. But yeah, I have the Colts winning the division. But once again, this division is nothing special to rave home about. This is going to be probably the weakest division, I think, in the league this year.
Yeah, because I think the NFC South is on the come up.
Yeah, no, we'll get to that one because I think there's so much talent in these other divisions that there's two teams you actually duking it out for, the mantle of who wins the AFC South, and I think it's going to come down to the Texans and the Colts, but I think the Colts are just better, and I think when you look at every other team, I don't expect any surprises in the division. I'll say that I don't expect any surprises in the division, and everybody knows. I know how things went last year. I know how teams, a certain team looked, and they made playoffs, and everybody knows I'm no friend of the other team because I mentioned the Titans, but I have not spoken of the other team that is in that division. But I don't see that team doing much either, and I think just because I'm going to curse them this year,
There you go. Well, they're already cursed themselves with having the 30th ranked offensive line by PFF. Has been a very poor offensive line for quite a while. Lost some of their main playmakers especially from running back. They got Bashal Tutin, who I like, but I don't know if he's a starting feature back in this league. At quarterback, at running back, excuse me. Brian Thomas Jr., what a mess that was last year. Does he bounce back? What happens there? Travis Hunter is kind of in the mix. Who knows what's going on with that situation? Kind of a stanky offense. I don't know how much there is to write home about on the offense. Plenty to like on the defense, of course. Travon Walker, Aric Armstead, Josh Hines, Allen, Forsade Olukun at the linebacker. Jack Kaiser, good draft pick last year. They got Travis Hunter listed as the starting corner as well. He wasn't particularly good at either one of those things last year. I don't know how they expect him to stay healthy, which is something he did not do last year. I don't know, man. I don't know if it was a little bit of a miracle run for them last year. I don't know. This looks very 7-win-ish. Only because this, like you said, this division is not super threatening. I don't know, man. I don't see a whole hell of a lot to like here for the Jaguars.
Yeah, I think last season was an anomaly for me. I think, I think
good pass rushers. They got a bunch of good pass rushers like that, but
yeah, like a couple things went well for them. A couple things went good, but when you really, really get into it and you really break it down, it's honestly like, hey, listen, this team is not a team that has the ability to go far. Now, you could argue they got screwed before. They got a little screwed a little bit in the playoffs, if you want to argue that, or they've been screwed before or whatever. And in the past, there's times where they we won't go into what happened a couple years ago when they were in the playoffs, and some things went a little interestingly for them where they could have made, whatever. We won't go into that. But I will say, the Jacksonville Jaguars have talent. It's just how well does this team mesh on the field? And I don't think, some of the things that have happened, because it's like nothing major has happened for this team that's going to take them above the other teams. And I don't think when you look at the Colts roster, like maybe health could make them slide into a spot. Like that's what happens for them. Health is what leads them. If the Colts could have stayed healthy and kept going, we're not even having a conversation about the Jaguars. You know what I mean? Like we're not having this conversation. So I think 6 or 7 wins back to, the land of mediocrity, the land of the lower tier. And I mean, they might be better than the Titans. They might not. Yeah, I think they might not. I mean, I don't think the Titans were really good at all this season, but it's like nothing would bring me more joy than seeing the Jaguars fail. And I have nothing against Jacksonville, the city, and I honestly don't even have anything against the Jaguars like that.
Some of it's richer at residents, maybe, yeah.
But it's like, hey, I just don't envision this. This team has never been like a consistent team anyway. This entire time it's been in the league. There's never been a time where you could say, oh man, the Jaguars had like a great 5-year run, 6-year run. It's never going to happen. It's just never going to happen. They're also ran by incompetent people, but we're not going to get into that. So, I think when you have that, you kind of just like you're going to make the playoffs every now and then. That's just the way a cookie crumbles, and you know what I mean. Like even the worst team after a while makes remember the Panthers were like at the bottom of the league for a while, and then they made the playoffs, and so it flips around. It's just the give and take of sports is that eventually the team that was bad will eventually become good, and then they have one anomaly season, they go back to being like dog shit. Like that's the Jaguars. They're gonna go back to being pretty terrible. And like I said, 6 wins, maybe 7. Just if you catch the Texans on a good week, when you play them again, like catch the Texans on a good week, maybe you can get a win. But other than that, especially when we're talking about Jaguars pass rush, but that's it. That's it. I don't see much. And like I said, the talent on paper, if you read it on paper, it's like, it's a decent team, but is it? Like is it? Like it's on paper, name value sounds decent, but on the field, I don't see it. And um, yeah, I hope and wish it doesn't happen for them. If it does happen, hey, I'm more than happy to admit I was wrong, but I don't see that happening.
So I got to be honest, man. I'm looking over this Titans depth chart. And offense, you want to talk about a 7-win team or 8-win team? Well, this is for a different reason. 7-win, 8-win, that's 500. It's like half and half. Well, that's the Tennessee Titans. They're a half and half team because I actually kind of dig what I'm seeing on this offensive side of the ball. Cam Ward, you hope he takes another step forward. He number 1 pick for a reason. Tony Pollard and TJ Spears, the combination in the backfield, like that. Carnell Tate, hopefully he ends up panning out as a rookie, being a little bit of a baller. Calvin Ridley at one point was looked at as a very, very good player. Maybe getting Tate in there to take some pressure off of him will help him re-elevate his game near some of the levels it used to be at. The offensive line is ranked pretty low. It's ranked number 29 overall, but they have one of the best guards in the league. So they at least have one of the best players in the league on the offensive line. And J.C. Latham, their offensive tackle they picked in the first round a couple years back, has shown promise. So he hopefully elevates his game a little bit. I like name for name. I like this offense better than I like the Jaguars. The problem is there's not a whole lot going on at all on this defense. Not a lot of names. They got like 2 players. But this is what you hire Robert Saleh to do. Robert Saleh has proven himself time and time again to be an excellent defensive coordinator. Jonathan Franklin Myers and Jeffrey Simmons are both going to fit awesome into Robert Saleh's system. So maybe Saleh, with his scheming and his abilities as defensive coordinator, will be able to lift this defense to at least be, I don't expect it to even get into the middle of the pack, but if it's between 25 and 20, if the offense matures, if the young guys come through, I see this being a lot more interesting team than they have been the last few years. That's for damn sure. What are your thoughts on the Titans, True, before we get out of here?
Don't have much to say about them. Like I said, I think they could be slightly better than the Jaguars, maybe slightly. Like there's potential there for the Titans. I think if they shore up, like you said, shore up their line a little bit, maybe in a year or 2 from now. Like I feel like the Titans could be a team to talk about in 2 years. And I think there's a couple of teams like that where it's like you're kind of starting over a little bit, you're kind of rebuilding a little bit, and you're trying to get yourself back to prominent. And so in a year or 2, you could be some bad, you could be some bad boys, but they're not there yet. They have some pieces there, and they have some great minds there that could help them get there. But you know how it goes in this league. It's like, will they? You know what I mean? Like are they going to be able to to get there? And I don't think this season is that. I got them around probably the same as I got the Jaguars, like 6-7 wins. Definitely potential for 1 or 2 more. Definitely potential for 1 or 2 more losses as well. So it's kind of a flip the coin deal where it's like you can be better than we expect, or you can be worse than we expect. And I have no idea what we're going to get from them, but I do know in a few years the potential is there for them to be, kind of take over the spot that the Texans kind of had for a couple seasons here. The Colts kind of had for a little bit. Like they can at least make it a fight, and and then the Jaguars just be at the bottom, which would bring me joy. So
there we go.
So I think wins for the Titans, man.
We hope that we've brought you joy here on this football Thursday afternoon going on into Football Friday. This is United Football Media's Tell Me About It.